Boom. Good evening. Welcome to MCFC 9320 PUBcast. Thank you everybody in the chat who's joined us and stuff like that. It's going to be a factful and heart on the sleeve kind of show tonight. Thanks to Chris from Trade Union Blues for joining us tonight, and also Nick from MCFC Food Bank, and also, as ever, my mum and dad, Paddy and Anne-Marie, are here as well. How are you guys?
Good, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, so yeah, we're going to get into the real nuts and bolts of it, because I feel on social media, and correct me if you feel something different, guys, I feel that not everybody on social media who's reading bits and pieces fully understand why things like the protests are planned and going ahead, and why there's all sorts of fan groups standing, trying to make a stand against what City are doing or trying to do. So I think it's important we get the truth out there, as it were. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that, Chris?
Yeah.
Nick? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think, it's only by kind of being close to the club, and especially for people that have been going to the games a long time, that you really feel the full brunt of what's going on. So yeah, I think that's absolutely the correct statement.
Mm-hmm. And is it important, because we had a chat off there before we came live about little things again. Anne-Marie could sit pretty with her 2 season tickets. You guys could, I could, and just we're all right, Jack. Fuck the rest, kind of thing. But it's not about that. Sometimes in life, you've got to do the right thing, principles, and see the long term picture, and not. So we'll chat about. I just want to get your spin on what's broken today, and we've not spoke about this. I know Anne-Marie's going to be gutted about Bernardo potentially leaving. Anne-Marie, what's going on?
Well, we had the conversation about Kevin last week, and I think the same rings true for this today with Bernardo. These players have got a certain lifespan, and the reality is, whether we like it or not, we've had the best of their careers, and it has to come to an end at some point. So possibly, last season we should have done this rather than this season. We should have cleared out people. But there has been an element of sentiment, be it with the club and the players and with the fans, because the reality is we knew that Kevin, while a fantastic player and still got, he's still got the ability to do certain things, he can't do it regularly enough.
Well, Anne-Marie, I sort of get that. But am I seeing things what some others are not? Yeah, we're getting rid of the so-called high earners, and people keep saying, "Oh yeah, but Haaland's the biggest earner and he's on a 9-year contract." I think if he'd have known what's happening, maybe Haaland would have thought a little bit about, hang on, Pep's going to be gone in a year. KDB's going to be going. Bernardo's going to be going. I know there's people. I think people, Paddy, sort of like just automatically assume, because we're in Manchester City, that Florian Wirtz and all these players will automatically come to us. The reality is, mate, we've no divine right to get any player through the door.
Well, no, that's not going to happen. But going back to Anne-Marie's point about refreshing last year, we've just done 4 in a row. So who are we going to sell? Every one of them players was the top of their game. So who's going out the door? That nobody has a crystal ball.
No, and I get that. I get that, Paddy. But at the same time, being realistic, that these people can't keep up that level of achievement. So we were looking at, if we look at Kevin, we look at Bernardo, look at John Stones even.
Okay, so at the start of the season, Anne-Marie, who would you have got rid of? During the off season?
I'd have probably got rid of Stones, because this season isn't new with John Stones. It's previous seasons as well. He comes and he plays for us, and he'll manage a game, maybe half a game, and then he'll go and play for England and play 2 games in a week and come back to us injured.
Okay.
And that's happening regularly.
Something we've spoke about, Nick and Chris, we've spoke about a few times in it. How many games in one season, maximum games, has John Stones played for us? Did you know it's only, I'm sure it was 22 games. That's the most he's played in a season for us.
Really, I'm not massively surprised to hear that, to be fair. But obviously that year, one of those years being the treble season, I think, you're talking there about sentimentality. I think sentimentality probably drives me more than anything. So all of those treble players are kind of like, don't touch them, don't take them away, don't go. I know that's not how it works. I know that's not how continuing success is going to be. But another part of me is also like, especially with Kev is the one. It's like I almost don't understand it. I think people are being a bit too. I think City fans have been really jaded by the Walker saga, and going out of our way. Pep going out of his way. Wouldn't he like go to like a Revolution bar in Wilmslow or something late at night to try and like convince him to extend his contract or something like that? And then look how that's turned out this past 6 months.
Do you think it's out of Pep's hands, Nick? Like Bernardo?
Lots of it is, but didn't Pep say a couple of months ago that he actually made a mistake? Like the club came to him and said, "Do you want to buy a load of players? Or something like that?" And he said, "No, we think we can stick it out with this current group or something like that." And I think maybe we're paying for those mistakes, maybe something like that. But I just think a lot of City fans have been really robotic, really cold about Kevin going. They're saying it's the right idea, it's the right thing to do, just because we've been burnt essentially by sentimentality with Walker. Like, we don't know if the club offered Kev a lower wage on a 1 year extension. We don't know that. Everyone's speculating. We'd never have a clue. If we knew all the facts, then fair enough. Then I could maybe make a decision. But if Kev did want to stay on 400 grand, which was obviously probably never going to happen, but we don't know if he did get offered. From the sounds of it, from that interview the other day, the club didn't offer him anything.
Yeah, it seemed that. And Chris, one thing what I sort of like noticed, and it's touching upon what Nick said there a little bit. It's like really cold about it's only just come out recently that KDB he's been sort of like playing for 2 seasons with injuries. He's played through injuries for us, and it just seems like right. That's enough. You're going. The Bernardo one.
You only need to look at the treble winning year. We could have that season could have completely finished Kevin's career because of the way he was playing with the injury that he had.
There's a difference between sentiment and, for me, the club are being brutal. With what they do, and people keep saying. And I've had a ding dong with a few, as per on X today, as I always do. And people keep saying to me, "Oh yeah, we want the club to, we want to give them a good send off. We didn't get the opportunity, la di da di da with David Silva and Aguero. Hang on a minute, we didn't have a choice anyway because it was COVID time. So it's that what dictated us not giving them a good send off. I just think as well. And again, it's just my thoughts. We're announcing like the KDB one go, and there's no smoke without fire without Bernardo. Not a chance. That could also be.
There's never been a season without Bernardo going.
But if you think
Bernardo going for the last 5 years.
But yeah. It was only 12 months ago. We was doing everything we could to keep him at the club. 12 months later, we're saying, "See you, we don't want you here anymore." And it just beggars belief because we need a refresh. Every club needs a refresh every season, but I feel we are dropping a massive one here.
On this, I think we've got to bear in mind it's been a very strange season, and it's been a slowdown after 4 amazing years. And I think, personally, I'm gutted about Kev, and I think the kind of salt in the wound was it kind of gets announced just as he has this amazing performance against Palace and says, "Oh, it's good that I'm playing without injury again." It's been a weird season. We've been ravaged by injuries. Rodri getting injured early doors certainly didn't help. I've always tried to make the argument, though, this squad shouldn't depend so much on one player, which it seems that we have, unfortunately, even for the past 3-4 years, which is mad when you think about it. And my only interpretation of it is that it's like we've not performed this season, and it's time for a big shake-up, I think. And I mean, I think Pep's the greatest manager there's ever been, but if you look throughout his history, he's never been afraid to do these things, and he's done them at City. Joe Hart, I think, was the first victim of that. Essentially, beloved players who've kind of done it for years and years, and then Company, Aguero, So, and then to be fair, we ended up winning the treble and winning 4 on a bounce. So I think for me, like, it's sad. It's always sad. The one that's the worst for me is De Bruyne, because especially when he says, "Oh, I've been playing with injuries and I'm feeling much better," and he puts in a performance like that, and like, it's all rumours and speculation, but I'm sure there was something saying like he would have been happy to take a bit of a lesser role and play, renew his contract on less money. So if that was the case, like, yeah, but it is. I just think there's a big shake-up plan. That's how it seems to me, and that's a big risk as well, isn't it? Kind of rejigging so much of the team.
We've already done. We just signed 4 players in January, like the biggest transfer window we've had in ages. Like, how much more of a shake-up can you already start to do? I can't see them. I thought if all this is meant to be about being financially prudent and we're cutting wages and all this sort of stuff, then we're going to bring in a load of other players after we've already spent 200 mil in January. It's just I don't know, man. Honestly, I'll be honest. I hate talking about transfer stuff. One, because none of us really know anything, do we? And
something on it. If you think about it, we're getting nothing for KDB. We're not getting a transfer fee for KDB.
Yeah.
There's if Bernardo's got to Benfica, as the rumor, we're not going to get 50 million for Bernardo from Benfica. So all of a sudden, we're putting our hands in our pockets more and more and more, and it's. And again, I mentioned it earlier about it just seems to be the big hitters. It does seem to be the big hitters, but it's for a reason. Now, Viana, who's come in, who's I believe Cheeky's staying with us till the end of the season now. So you got basically 2 of them, pulling the strings for transfers. Now, I still think Pep has pulled the strings in the respect of transfers and stuff like that, who he wants in and stuff like that. Now, the next manager after Pep, will we start seeing?
I don't know if Pep is
and going. They're your players. Work with them. Like they do on the content more.
Well, we make such a big thing about when all the Barcelona contingent came over, when it was Soriano, obviously less said about it in the better, but Cheeky and all that coming in, like. I thought that I kind of had it in my head that Pep has actually got very little to do with transfers on the whole, and it is all about Cheeky's, being the director of football, whatever the role is, and all that kind of thing. Like, I don't know how much impact Pep really has, apart from if he can't work with the personality or whatever, if he thinks it completely doesn't work with his style of play. I think Pep can have some sentimentality in with him. We're talking about this De Bruyne taking on a lesser role. We've seen so many players, especially players with his kind of intelligence, football intelligence, that move into different parts of the pitch, and why can't he play deeper? Doesn't have to run around as much, because we see him. I was at Goodison yesterday on Saturday, and compared to how he played at Palace, it was chalk and cheese. It was fuming me with some of his passing, but. I don't know, like what Chris said there, hearing in an interview that he says, well, actually, I've just been playing through a hernia, which I didn't have a clue about. That feels incredibly unfair if he's now recovered from that and he thinks that he's absolutely got something to offer. And even what's worse, he may stay in England. I don't know.
I was just about to say that. Now, I don't think he will, but he could really sort of like have Pep and the hierarchy at City really spinning, because potentially KDB could turn up at Liverpool. He could turn up at Arsenal. He could, something like that. And he could give us huge problems. I just think I understand the sentiment thing with some players, but I just feel we've had a knee-jerk reaction with some of the things there. And again, it's been a weird old season. It's not just sort of like someone somewhere has got to be looking at the training and stuff like that, because it's unprecedented at how many injuries we've had. And let's not forget as well. I think you touched upon it a minute ago, Nick, where we don't necessarily have to get rid of players to bring someone in, because we might not have had the Rodri, what we know and love, without Fernandinho nurturing him for a year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Don't ask me more about transfers. I know nothing. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds here, when later on we're going to start moaning about 20 quid, 30 quid discrepancies in tickets.
But it still begs the question, because going back to the Rodri injury totally knocked our season. There's no question about it, because we never had a replacement for him. And that's the thing that I don't understand. In all of the different players we've bought over the years, we never had a backup for Rodri. It just seems crazy to me. When you think about, we've had 2 players pretty much for every position up until this season, and yet we've never had a proper replacement or a backup for Rodri.
Well, we tried Emery, didn't we? We tried with Kevin Phillips. It didn't work out.
Yeah, but he was never ever going to be a Rodri type player. Never. He was never good enough.
Who is?
My mother and father are at it again, aren't they?
So whose decision was it to bring Calvin Phillips in then? Do you know what I mean? Does that scream a Pep signing to you? Doesn't
that to me screams a signing that we need to have another English player in the squad. That's what it screams to me. And he was never ever good enough for us. He was never going to be good enough for us.
Paddy wouldn't have him as a Calvin O'Phillips, would you, mate?
No, you can keep him.
Martin, you listen, mate. I appreciate the super chat, mate. Throw a £5 into the food bag or something like that. You know we don't do stuff for money, mate, but I appreciate it. Everything gets read out and shown. Playing devil's advocate here. If Bernardo, KDB, etc. stay, what happens to O'Reilly, Echeverri, Marmoush, etc.? Do we not sign anyone then? It's a hard. I agree. The thing is, and we've said this a few weeks on the show, and Stan, bless him, we're sort of like with them January signings. We're sort of like 6 months ahead in our recruitment for next season, because the likes of Liverpool will be buying, and Arsenal, etc. Their new signings will need bedding in, whereas we're already playing them predominantly now.
Yeah, so, but if you believe the rumours that I've seen over the last couple of days about the defender, what's his name?
Was Beckenbauer?
Yes, that he's probably not going to play another game for us because he had a falling out with Pep.
That's rubbish.
Well, over shampoo.
But these are all rumours. You don't know, because he's been on the bench every game since and not played.
Well,
but you know why, don't you? Because Nico O'Reilly was playing left back.
Yeah, we've moved Guardiola into centre back in it, and he's looked.
Guardiola isn't. Pep came out today and he says that Diaz and Guardiola will be the centre back pairing for next season.
Also, are you forgetting something? If he would have, I don't know if you agree here, Chris. If us Beckenbauer and Pep would have had a falling out, he wouldn't even be on the bench. He'd be getting a Cancelo and he wouldn't be at the club. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say as well that he's been my absolute favourite signing of the January window. I think he's awesome, and to come back from that debut that he had such a shaky start, he looks amazing. I think he's still so young. He's one for the future, and I do think that's more about rejigging the back four, having Guardiola fit back in there as a proper centre half, and O'Reilly. I mean, there's a question whether you might play him at right back instead of Rico Lewis. I think that's probably something I'd like to see someone have a go at. But yeah, I mean, I think he's been amazing. I think he's one for the future. And I read that story, and it doesn't seem very realistic to me. You can't. I can't imagine Pep being that petty, to be honest with you.
And he looks really happy to be with us, doesn't he?
He's not smiled yet, but he's a great player.
I went past the two. They were on my row yesterday at Goodison too. The lads, with the Uzbeki, like the I'm not gonna. Yeah, the hat thing that I've seen him wearing. So I was like, yeah, that was. I don't know how they get that through the bloody turnstile, to be honest. But yeah,
I just don't know where we're going with it. Right? Yeah, we've had a little moan about the way stuff there. Right, let's get to the nitty gritty, guys. Do you want to kick off, Nick, about the protest, potential further protests and why it's happening? Because I don't think some people really fully understand what it's all about.
Yeah, so there's a few. All right, it's a part of the problem with all this, right? Is there's so bloody much to talk about. This is not just one thing. It'd be a lot easier if it was just one thing. There are multiple different issues affecting the fan base at the moment, and actually they've been happening for a long period of time. And City fans, because I think it's fair to say that we're fairly loyal to the club, and and actually to an extent are fairly appreciative of all the success we've had over the past 10-15 years. We've not wanted to rock the boat ourselves too much, and we've just, like I said, the football's 4 leagues on the trot, never happened in British history. A real treble, unlike United's one where they didn't even win the league the year before. Do you know what I mean? Like we've had the best football, the best achievements we're ever going to see probably in our lifetimes now. I'll grow old and die, hopefully, and never see anything like this ever again. Mm-hmm. In that time, pricing across the country, but at City, pricing of the game has rocketed to levels that really actually, as I'm a season ticket holder, me, my little brother, my dad, I almost feel a little bit guilty as a season ticket holder because I've not really cared or looked or even realised what match day pricing has got to at this club at the moment. And then this year I'm seeing that we've got more category games than ever before. Whatever they decide is the most expensive league game. So you're seeing practically, what is it like, teams like Brighton and that are category A or B and all this sort of stuff. You're paying for Aston Villa is category A now, so you're seeing £71 tickets on Tuesday. £42 is the cheapest kids ticket. For a family of 4, you're looking at well over £200 there, into £300 if you take into account match day, the citizens memberships, all of this sort of stuff. When did football get to this stage? When did English football get to this level? Because when my dad was going to Main Road, there was tons of lads and girls from the streets around Main Road Stadium that could go to the game. You tell me just how many people that live in the areas of Beswick, Bradford, and Openshaw can actually get in to get into the Etihad on a £71 cheapest adult ticket. These are some of the most deprived areas in the country, let alone in Manchester. And we just absolutely lost sight of all that. I think there was the Scousers did a good stat. The cheapest ticket in 1992 on the Cop. I can't remember the exact price, but it was the inflation increase 800% to today from 1992. And Liverpool have got much cheaper tickets than we have on a match day. Has anybody's wages gone up by 800%? Do you know what I mean? So
exactly, mate.
Yeah. So look. So I know I've said a lot of stuff there, but I think it needs a lot of background to all this because we're not known for protesting this at the turn of the century. We protested quite a lot in the 80s and 90s, so my dad tells me.
We've missed it, mate.
Definitely in a City's heritage to protest, but we've not had massive amounts of reasons to recently. But what we've seen is like a death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing over the past 10-15 years, where families can't get into the ground. If you give up your season ticket, you will never get your season ticket back. That didn't used to be a massive issue. People used to give up season tickets all the time if they left Manchester for work or stuff like that. And now you've got people holding on to tickets to grim death because it'll never get back. In 2019, when we had a smaller stadium, we had over 40,000 season ticket holders. We've now got, officially, because the club put these stats out, we have 35,900 season ticket holders, 1,100 on top of that, a Flexi Gold, and we can talk about that in a bit, but they're not real season tickets, so I'm not counting them at all. How can we have lost over 4,000 season tickets when we're getting a bigger stadium and we're more successful than ever? Why are we losing? That's a choice. That's a choice by the club. It's a business choice. When Blues die, or they get disillusioned, or they get priced out, everyone actually has been thinking that they just go back into the season ticket pot. No, it doesn't happen. What the club do nowadays, no matter where you're around the stadium, they'll slap an extra £100 a restaurant voucher or whatever it is onto that. It'll become a hospitality ticket. They can mark it up by 2-3 times. it's just another way of exploiting, rinsing the fan base who are, because obviously it's a business. I completely understand that, but supporters are people. We are the aspects of the business that can afford these increases less. So it's on a whole, the whole reason for the process it's two things: it's pricing and it's season ticket availability. Because even if you've not got a season ticket, how are you gonna afford to pay 10, 20 times to go to the games with this cost, especially if you're trying to take kids?
I think that's so important as well, Nick. And I'm sure, Chris, you agree there. It's not just about the like, and we've said it for quite a while on here now. The club have caused this divide with this legacy fans versus overseas fans, stroke day trippers. They've created that label because I don't think if City would have filtered down more season tickets, as Nick said, the capacity is going up, but the season tickets are not being filtered out. Now, if the club would have filtered 5,000 season tickets out, no, I don't think there would be much of a mumblings going on about day trippers and stuff like that. But it's not just the day trippers. City are actually smacking the ass off a genuine long-term City fans, like Paddy, where Paddy has to come over. Now, Paddy's being charged stupid amounts of money to watch the club what he's supported all his life. Now, why is that fair, mate?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sorry, just Sam. I think that's right, and I think there's so many issues, and I think what you were saying before to me when we were in the waiting room before is like, it's not just about saying like, I'm all right, Jack, and the season ticket prices have been froze. It's about thinking about other people. So like, where I grew up in Whitefield on the council estate, and like when we were in school, they want a lot of us City fans in my year actually in school. Most of them were Reds, but most of us went to the game, and quite a lot of those people now can't afford to go to the game, and they can't afford to take the kids. I don't have kids, but I also think like, if I had a kid and I wanted to bring them to the game with me, like my dad used to do with me, which is why I'm a City fan. I had my first season ticket with my dad in 95, 96 in Main Road, 30 years ago nearly. We went to, we were at Wembley in 99. I've had a season ticket pretty much every time since. Like, those are the connections that people get with his club. And for me, it's like we did an interview in the Morning Star, and they put a really great little subset about it. Says this is a fight for the soul of the club, and it is because, like, just in my example, like my old man who I used to go to the game with, he passed away in 2012, and like we sprinkled his ashes in a garden of remembrance at City. That the club for me is it's not just a football team; it's something that's a deep part of my life, and I'm just one person. There will be thousands of other people like that, and they shouldn't be priced out of something that they love. They shouldn't be priced out of something that's been a deep connection to their life since they were kids. So, I think for me, that's a big part of what we try to do. It's not just about, the issues are, the ticketing policies, and that's what we fight against. But the reasons is because football teams to us are much more than what they are to the owners, where it's just about making money. It's about fleecing us for everything. The reasons why they don't want season tickets are because they know for everyone that gives up their season ticket, they can then try and charge 75 quid or put it on Viagogo. God knows what deal they've got with them, whether they get guaranteed money off Viagogo, even if the seat doesn't get filled, we don't know. So yeah, it's about us trying to bring the club back to us because we love the club so much more than anything.
And again, I've said it before. There's a family of three who've sat behind us for donkey's years, and when they can't go, they sell their tickets back to the club. That's fine. However, when they're not there, we're getting opposition fans where this family of three sit. Now, there's only one place what they're selling them tickets back, and that's back to Manchester City Football Club. They're not selling them direct to Viagogo. They're selling them back to City. So that whatever way, them tickets are getting into opposition's hands. We've had Liverpool, the past couple of seasons, we've had Liverpool fans, United fans, Tottenham fans, Chelsea fans sat directly behind us when this family can't go. So people can't tell me that it's just sort of like the average City fan putting it up for sale in sort of like on the open market kind of thing, because it's not. It really isn't.
Like this is about they say all this is about it's all they're trying to blame season ticket holders. We've spoken to people who are on City Matters, which is our fan advisory board. Every single Premier League club has to have a fan advisory board. We just happen to call ours City Matters. And they've said that the club says this is all down to multiple things. They say it's all down to season ticket holders. They also blame season ticket holders for empty seats. They say season ticket holders don't pass on the ticket and stuff like this. They've said something like 8%. I think it's something like 3,000 to 4,000 on average per game don't attend or something. I'm like, what does that mean? We'd noticed if the equivalent of the entire south stand, the entire away section wasn't in the ground. I don't trust some of their figures sometimes. That doesn't make sense to me. What we are seeing though is people, like you say, City fans, season ticket holders have put the ticket back on the ticket exchange, and the two worst examples to me are one, it ends up in an away fan's hands, which is a joke. The fact that you can't trust exchanging your ticket to your own club because you don't know where it's going to go to. But the second, the worst thing is a lot of the time those seats go empty now because the price is so crazy. You have to buy it at the match day rate. Like I've had mates put up the ticket when against Leicester or whatever. It didn't sell because who is going to pay 61? Was it 61 quid for Leicester or 50? But because that's it, £71, £51, 60. Yeah. Who's going to pay that? No one's going to pay that.
I sold my tickets back to the club for the Leicester game.
Yeah.
They both sold, and yet nobody sat in the seats.
Really? And did it sell?
I was sat behind them. There was nobody in the seats.
That's so interesting.
That's the reason why you were sat behind them.
This is it. We generally, like Chris alluded to there, we don't know the deals that the club has with some of these third-party ticket agencies, and this is another part of the process. Right. So yeah, like I said, sorry for waffling on a bit before with the but the bit of the background to all this, right?
No, Nick, don't apologise, because people need to understand the reasons behind it, mate. That's why it's great to have you and Chris on.
So we called that first protest that was against Leicester, and it was 9 minutes on the concourse. Can you stay? Don't take your seats for kickoff. Wait 9 minutes to reflect the number 9 third-party ticket agencies we have officially partnered with. Just a week earlier in the MEN, Kieran Maguire, the renowned football finance expert who does the Price of Football podcast, he said it's unusual for a club to have more than 2 or 3. We have 8. Now we have 9. So Viagogo, and bear in mind, the club announced that partnership with Viagogo after not having responded to City Matters asking for a meeting on ticket pricing for 7 weeks. 7-8 weeks. Some members of City Matters had gone on strike, refusing to meet the club. The reason they did that was because the club had promised that meeting. They promised to set a date in 7 days, and they'd heard nothing in 7 weeks. If I say to you, "Oh yeah, I'll have a meeting with you, and I'll give you the date in a week or so," and you don't hear anything for 2 months, you don't want that meeting. I don't want to have that meeting with you. Clearly, that the club did not want to speak to us, to speak to City Matters. They didn't want to speak to our fan representatives. So them announcing a deal with Viagogo amidst all of that was
taking the piss, mate.
That's what it was.
I don't understand why they went back to Viagogo after getting rid of them in the first place.
This is it. 10 years ago, we had a partnership with them.
Yeah, we did.
But it was like they are and it is not slanderous or anything to say that Viagogo are the most notorious predatory ticket touting agency.
Well, you saw my when it got announced. You saw my tweet to him, mate. I called City now the biggest ticket touts in world football. That's Manchester City, not just Viagogo. City are in bed with them. It's as simple as that.
It's absolutely crazy to have 9 partnerships. What Chris alluded to, we don't know what the club is doing with all these different 9 partnerships. They say that they only give around 500 odd tickets per home game to these across 9, not 500 per group per agency, just across all 9. Do you believe that?
No. I'll tell you something, Chris, as well. What's staggering? I sat in the north stand, the family stand. Second tier since 2003 with my lad. City have not even started consulting with us what's going to happen, because we know we're going to be relocated. and when is it supposed to be? January, when everything starts to be done, where we've all got to be out because all the boxes. It's just they've got no regard for the fans there. You know, you think by now they'd be consulting people. It's going to affect. You know, say, you know, where would you want relocating and stuff like that. And that's why I'm saying they can stick the 2 season tickets up their arse. They're not getting the 2 season tickets back, by the way. That they will be going to City fans, regardless of people saying that City, you know, City are not, you know, being ticket touts. It's short sighted if people can't see what's happening.
I mean, so this has happened in the past as well. So like, I'm in the Colin Bell stand. I used to sit behind the City benches, and then when they built that tunnel club, they turfed me out. And what was really annoying is because my partner, who I go to the games with, she was sat on the front. We weren't together. She was like in front of me to the left, and because theoretically she wasn't part of those seats, like they offered me relocation and stuff like that, but they didn't offer her the same thing because we weren't because her seat wasn't being done in. So it's happened for ages, this kind of thing, I think. But it's getting worse. And again, this drive towards hospitality, all it's about is maximising revenue. You know, that's the corporate speak for it. And it comes at the expense of fans who kind of have been sat in the same seat for, you know, I mean, when we moved to the Etihad, we had pretty much the replication of the seat that we had at Main Road. We were in the Kippax and then in the East Stand. So, you know, you kind of theoretically had that same seat for a long, long time, but because now they know that they can get some people to pay silly money for a ticket, they'll just turf you out. And what they'll say is like, oh, well, you can have a reduction here for a year or something like that. But, you know, that's just the 1 year. And yeah, it's not fair, is it? And ultimately, it just boils down to money, unfortunately.
Yeah. Could just one thing, I've seen somebody say in the comments, do you feel a bit of a sympathy with the club because of we have one of the highest ratios of season ticket holders in the league? That's not true anymore. I would have. So the Premier League themselves. So this is a funny one. I did end up. I went to a meeting with the Premier League in November as part of the Football Supporters Association. I sat in the same room as Richard Masters, which was quite a funny.
Did you smack him?
No, I did. You know, I made a little joke about City getting relegated, and he laughed. So that was nice. No. I'll tell you what. The Newcastle Supporters Trust guy sat next to me, gave him a lot more grief. I'll tell you that. But no, the Premier League. So we've seen some stats from the Premier League, and they say that the around, I think it's 70 to 75% of tickets sold in the Premier League are across all clubs are 2 season ticket holders. Okay. City in 2019, based off those numbers that we did have that I mentioned before, we were at 75%, 40,000 as a percentage of 53,000, which is, I think that's what the capacity is now. That is pretty much bang on 75%. Okay, now with 35,900 in what will be a 60,000 seater stadium, and we've just seen last week the club has announced no new season tickets, a couple extra flexi golds under circumstances, but again, flex golds on season tickets. We're now under 60%. Everton are the highest in the league with 80%. How have we gone from 75% to under 60% in 5 years? That's managed decline of a fan base, of the supporters. They've done it on purpose. And I think what underpins all of this, and we can, as you can tell, I can argue about the individual little finer points. Chris said, it's all about money, but such small sums of money. If they did we seen last week the all right, great, we got a price freeze for season tickets and match day, when really, okay, price freeze on season tickets just about fair enough, but on match days we should have seen a reduction because it's disgraceful what we're doing at the moment, right? But what they did first offer, they offered an inflationary increase of 2.8%, which, you know, one, I think that's a bit of a joke anyway, because you're going to backdate it to all the times you've increased it above inflation. No, you're not. But if they'd have done that, I think we worked out that it would have earned the club around 500 grand. A 2.8% increase would have earned the club 500 grand. What are we talking about here with Kevin De Bruyne's wages and that 400 grand in a week? What?
COVID shows us as well that it's not about the money. It's not about the match day fan, is it, and stuff like that. It just shows you it's just pure greed.
You've never needed this money from fans. I'm not joking. I know we say it. The club has made a profit, and I think every single season, bar one, for the last 10 years, and the last 2 years we've made something like 70 million pure profit each year, right? We said this before as a bit of a joke, but it's also true. They could have let us in for free every single game the last 2 years and they'd have been fine. All right. But this, like I say, 400, 500 grand that they would have made off all of us who were all living through a cost of living crisis. It's not been hard. It's never been harder in this country in terms of rents, mortgages, price of fuel, the price of my weekly bloody food shop is atrocious at the moment. We, again, like I said before, we're the aspects of the business that can afford this less. We don't know how much money they got from Viagogo the day after they announced an energy drink partner in Vietnam. How much money did they get from that? Is it worth pissing us all off?
They're not doing it for free, are they? I tell you what, I've been heartened with as well. So like rival clubs, what have been out in support. The way everyone's actually, because listen, people have not got a pot to piss in anymore, and it just seems it's them what the club are targeting. They don't. Even the price of food, they could lower the price of food and drink in the stadium, so the revenue would go up. But it's just pure greed, where you have to pay £75,000 for a pie and stuff like that. Nobody's going to pay them prices. I don't eat or drink in the stadium anymore. I much prefer to go to the chippy across the road, put it into a small business rather than the greed of a big global organisation like Manchester City.
He drinks in the town. He doesn't have a drink in the pub in the stadium anymore. But yeah, that was one thing. I remember when they introduced the 10% season ticket discount for a drink, knocked 50p off the price of a pint. Then the next season just put it up by 50p anyway.
Can I tell you my point of view? Right, it's a bit long-winded, and it's probably a conspiracy theory in my head, but I'm going to say it anyway. Right?
I love a conspiracy theory.
Man City announced a freeze on season ticket prices was City Matters, and then when they were having them negotiations, they obviously knew what they were going to do in terms of changing the criteria for season ticket holders. So you have to now attend 16 of the 19 matches, right? I don't think that was done by accident. Man City are going to freeze the season tickets for the 25-26 season, right? But during that 25-26 season, every season ticket holder will have to physically attend 16 games or they lose their season ticket. So the 26-27 season, by that criteria, I reckon there'll probably be about 8, 9, 10,000 less season ticket holders, because people get sick, people work shifts, people live abroad, but you have to physically present yourself at that ground 16 out of the 19 matches, and I guarantee you they will hoover up very shy of 10,000 season ticket holders tickets for their 9 ticket touch. And you can say I'm off my head, but I'm telling you, they're going to suck a little bit of pain up this year. They're going to suck a little bit of pain up this year and next year. We have freezing.
But the other thing is, we're not. There's no thought behind. Because one of the other factors is the fact that the kickoff times are changing constantly. Who in the right mind thought to change City's last home game of the season to a Sunday night at 7:00? Yeah.
Horrendous.
Whose idea was that? What's the reasoning behind it other than
part of that is it's not just the broadcasters, the club has to agree to the kickoff time as well, which is
but there's no logical reason for it other than the television and money.
This is a great point,
right? There's 4 of us here now, right? There's 4 season tickets here now, right? Or last season or this season, did the 4 of you attend 16 of the 19 matches?
Yeah.
I did, but my little brother, he works shifts in a factory. He works a 4 on, 4 off pattern. He's not actually yet made the. So what it is the actual ruling is it's bringing in a 10. You have to, your ticket has to be used for 16 out of 19 of the games, which you know, you can argue this way or that way, but I don't like that because, again, it doesn't account for emergencies. But the minimum attendance thing in person, it's 10, but that's completely new. That doesn't happen anywhere else. I've just seen United Supporters Trust CEO Duncan Drasdo say on Twitter yesterday that that's really concerning to see coming into clubs. It is like
it's not been increased from 10 to 16.
What it has been. So this is the thing. They're killing us all with details. The devil really is in the detail. And they did that announcement on ticket price freezes and thought everyone would be happy. But like you said there before, they'd have known what they were going to do. They'd have known what they were going to do. They didn't tell us that then. And I don't know if you've seen, they announced it on social media, all this new policy changes on the Thursday afternoon, literally the last working hour before a bank holiday. They didn't send an email out to see orders.
No.
Not sent an email out. I've had 3 emails from City since they made this announcement. None of them are to do with all these changes. It feels like they're trying to bury.
I've not even had an email to confirm the season ticket prices freeze.
But I feel they're trying to. That's what City do. To be fair, we've noticed this over the past few years of us doing our work and campaigning and stuff, and working with 1894 and that the club like to squash dissent by just not giving it oxygen. If you don't acknowledge something's ever happened, has it ever happened? That's sort of like what they do until you make it impossible for them to ignore, like we did with the protest. But what kicks a lot of this off was that the last, when we played Arsenal last season at home, it was the first game after international break, and it was the first home game after City had announced yet again another price increase. And the 1894 group put a big banner out. They dropped a banner before kickoff saying, "Record profits, record prices, stop exploiting our loyalty." And the club sent stewards to tear it down after 2.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
They were chasing lads down the concourse to get their accreditation off him. They don't like to see dissent. So when we did the protest, I know you asked me the question 15 minutes ago. I've only just started to talk about the Leicester protest. Sorry. I don't think anyone at the club expected it to be that big. There was potentially 8,000, 9,000, maybe even 10,000 fans that took part. And that's not even including the ones who stayed silent. Obviously, I was on the concourse where it was absolutely rocking. It felt like an away end. It was amazing. It was probably one of the best atmospheres I've experienced all season, you know. And part of that, I think, is because fans felt together and aligned in a period of where we're experiencing massive disconnects.
I've seen quite a few social media posts from Leicester fans who were absolutely applauding City fans for doing it as well.
This is it, yeah. It's massive. I think football fans across the country can see what's going on, and we have been working with other football fans, but the decision to call a stadium protest was not taken lightly. Like I said, this had been the first stadium protest this century at City. Well, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, it would have been towards the end of the 90s, mid 90s, wasn't it? But nobody expected it to be that big, but. Actually, I think that's because nobody's been listening to what City fans are saying quietly at home, in pubs, on podcasts like this. Fans have been getting fuming for years. It's not just, and it's nothing to do with us not doing too well this year. Because, like we said, we 1894 dropped that banner down when we won the 4th league title on the Chop last year.
Yeah.
The reason people are this angry is because the club aren't listening. So there's no. I massively applaud all the great work that the City Matters reps do, because let's be honest, they're an impossible job between a club that doesn't listen and a fan base that feels they're not listened to in the first place. But the club, it's not a coincidence that we did our first ever stadium protest at the Etihad. It was so big, so visible, talked about across the world on Match of the Day. Thank God Grealish scored after 2 minutes. That was a big hand.
That's the best goal I've never seen.
Yeah, literally. And then it's not a coincidence that we then get our first price freeze in a decade, a real one, because the COVID one doesn't count.
Can I just say as well, though, on a question you asked about different fans, I mean, I think for me this is key. So a big, like, Trade Union Blues, we only founded this year, but we're a load of people who've been going to the game, we go for drinks together, all in unions, and we thought we wanted to do something formally. But part of the stuff that inspired us to formalise was the stuff that Nick and his friends at the food bank collection have been doing, the Stop Exploiting Loyalty banner drops. And the key to all of those for us was that there was always fans from the opposing teams there on the other side of the banner. So it was like it was a really big statement of unity. Now, what we've managed to achieve so far. It's been brilliant working with Nick and his group and the 1894, and we've got some good friendships there, which I'm sure will endure. And it's important that we keep working together. But I think for us, the key thing is how we try and then make this. How can we encourage other fans to do the same? Because we are, it doesn't matter what football team you support. I think we're all facing very similar issues, and the details are different at different clubs, how they do about it, the policies they put in. But you can see United. And the United thing goes really deep. I think. I particularly despise Ratcliffe, especially because of how the way he's treated the workers there, taking all the bonuses off them and all that kind of stuff. And they're doing that again. It's the same reason that they're putting our ticket prices up, that they're messing about with our ticket prices. One thing I wanted to say on the 10-game ticket policy as well, which I didn't mention, is so I miss a few midweek games every season because I have other stuff on that I can't get out of. But generally, what I'll do is they'll get transferred to my partner's friend, someone who she works with, or something like that. Now they've also put a limit on that this season, in that you used to be able to just create a City account and you could transfer it to them. Now you can only do that to 3 people, and then anybody else who you do it will have to have a paid account, which costs £35 a year. So it's just another way of slyly taking something off us. And you can say, 3 people's probably reasonable for most people, but it's just why bother do it? Why bring it in? It just seems almost petty in the, they announce the price freeze, and then they're almost vindictive about it, that they have to try and pull something else back. And it's strange. But yeah, I do think the key for us is we've got the stuff coming up on Tuesday. We're doing the protest. Well, tomorrow it is, isn't it? We're doing the protest outside the Colin Bell stand. There'll be loads of us leafleting there. And then the idea is that if we don't get what we want ahead of the next game, we are looking at taking action again. And I think it's important that as many people do that, even if, as you say, yeah, you've got your season ticket and you've got your prize freeze. These issues, even if they don't affect you directly now, you can be sure that if we don't put a stop to them, they will do something that will affect you in the future, because they're just coming for all of us, just in the name of profit.
Yeah, it's really this 10-game minimum attendance thing is really, because you saw the statement that we all put out a few days ago, and it did focus mostly on Flexi Gold and season ticket availability and stuff like that. And for all the reasons I've said to you before, it's massively important, bringing through that next generation of fans. How I was my dad took me, his auntie took him. Do you know what I mean? And it's that line, that generational link that binds us all to our club. But despite that, it's this 10-game minimum attendance thing it feels like it's come out of complete nowhere, and this is really upsetting me. I had one of my friends, Helen, she got in touch with me, and she said, so she was pregnant with her first child last year, and she rang the club up and said, I'm obviously not going to be able to make a load of these games now. Can I please defer or something? Can something be done? And he said, no, you can't defer. No. Just nothing. So she was then absolutely terrified. Thank God she had a circle of friends that she could transfer tickets to. Yep. But now they've affected that. So and she has to attend 10 games minimum. What if she has another kid? I have another friend who got in touch with me. She's got a health condition. She has to make decisions on days, sometimes on the morning off, whether she can make it or not. But even despite that, she still tries to make her hardest to make sure that the seat is filled.
As well, mate. I don't give a shit. And by the way, I know, I don't know if he still does. Danny Wilson used to always watch this show as well, and that's not name dropping out. I know that for a fact. But do you want to know the way I get round it? I don't transfer tickets to friends and family and stuff like that. I have both my season cards on my phone, and all I do, like I do with Stan. Stan is obviously not on the show tonight. I just beep him in, beep myself. That's the only way. That's the only way around it.
We've seen emails from the. All right, so one, technically that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Technically that's illegal, and the club will come for you for that if they find out. We've seen emails from the club to supporters saying that they're checking CCTV to see who attended a game. People are saying, "Oh, facial recognition is going to come in and stuff like that." Forget that. We've already got the most high tech facial recognition cameras in the UK. This is one thing I've always thought. You got Hillsborough and all of the sort of the stuff that went on in the 80s, 90s, and thousands, and well, to be honest, ever since in the ways that police go after football fans first. Anything that has ever done in terms of like protesting and general riots, I don't mean about football, I mean in wider society, the coppers test it out on football fans first. They always have done. For whatever reason, we're the guinea pigs. We've had the most high-tech, zoom in, crystal clear picture recognition in stadiums for over a decade already, I think. The club is already using CCTV to see who is attending certain games. They're also going on social media. I've started to tell people, if you've got like a Twitter account, don't use your real name. Don't use your real name. Don't give the club a chance to. If you get in touch with the Man City Help Twitter account and you've given them your supporter number at any point in the past like 5 years,
they've got your details and it's stored.
And they're using that and then passing it on to they've got this new ticket compliance officer, a new one. And don't get me wrong, touting. We all hate touting. I don't want touting, whether it's digital touting or it's a City fan with a season ticket who is making money off his ticket. I don't want that. Digital ticket makes touting 10 times easier. And touts are always going to do it. Why are you going after City fans who are sharing their tickets for face value or less? Because that's what they're doing. This ticket compliance officer is not spending all his time doing.
Absolutely right, mate. Because it was a couple of months ago now. I got an email and it's in my back pocket. Say they actually, and I didn't reply to it. They actually asked me to explain my what's worded now, because I spoke out against the club on social media, and I didn't reply to it. Basically, fuck all to do with them. What I do on my social media, I don't have to go to them and explain what I'm putting on social media.
The club, that somebody from the club got in touch with you. There's a lot of stuff I really want to say now, but I don't know if I can, because
you can say whatever you want, mate.
Well, no, I mean legally.
Legally,
because no, seriously. One of my mates, all right, I'll tell you the basics because it got put in the Daily Mail. One of my mates who does the food bank with us, he was assaulted by a member of City's security team. This is not the stewards. This is not the agency stewards. This is City's actual security team. It turns out he's quite high up in security. He physically assaulted him. Me and my little brother had to grab him and to get him off, unprovoked. No drink involved, nothing like that. My mate did a freedom of information request. Had a look at the footage. You can see it on the footage. The club waited the 30 days or 45 days, whatever. They waited as long as possible. He had to go into the stadium on his own on a non-match day, and to be honest, my mate ended up deciding not to progress with anything, right? But because he couldn't be bothered with it. But I saw what happened. We all saw what happened. They had, and it turned out that they hadn't actually passed on the complaint that he'd made. So there are people in our security team who, I don't know. See, this is why I didn't want to say this. Because
I bet you it's the same individual who I got the email from.
Are the initials MD?
Carry on talking. I'll tell you who it is. Well, I won't say, but I'll confirm.
Anyway, this individual has been going on and checking fans' social media, seeing about the complaints they've made and stuff like that. I've seen it. Sorry, we've diverted a little bit here, but what you can tell is that clearly there's a lot of unrest amongst the supporters at the moment. I don't know if any of you spend any time around block 115, 116, 114 in the South Stand. You know, it's now over stewarded almost, and you have to get your ticket checked 2-3 times a game. It's not just when you go in the turnstile. So I mean, I feel bad for the standard City stewards. When I was a City steward, when I was a kid, you knew every steward on your block. Do you know what I mean? It was a friendly environment, and fans self-policed. That's yet another area where I'm thinking that it feels like there's a lot of detachment at the moment. There's fans getting banned for nothing. And again, what we were saying before about I think the club is a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I don't think it's a conspiracy theory that the club is trying to put fans off having a season ticket. They're trying to make fans give up their season tickets, because all this will do. Them saying this as well before announcing renewal information, it's scaring people off.
Yeah,
like I said, disability, shift workers, emergencies, health conditions. This is not what football's about. People have shared season tickets with friends and family ever since they were created. It's about keeping the family.
With what FIFA's put there. Did you see the way Esme Morgan's come out and been critical? And we need more of that.
Of course, how embarrassing is it for the club, for an ex-player to speak out? I hope we hear something tomorrow. I'll be absolutely honest. I hope we hear something tomorrow from the club, because they'll all be back off bank holiday. I hope they've had a think and reviewed it. And if not, if they don't review it before they announce renewal information, then that's why we have to do these protests. I don't want to do protests. The same reason I don't want to do the food bank. You know what I mean? Like, this is my free time. It's my leisure time. But instead, I've put hundreds of hours or thousands of hours into the bloody food bank over the past 5.5 years.
And you honestly, and I know you don't want praise and stuff like that, but you do an absolutely incredible job.
Fantastic job.
You really do, man. It's what Chris touched upon as well before, like the hospitality, and somebody, I think it was Nick who put it in the comments as well, that and I made a point of it, and I posted pictures against Brighton where the hospitality was empty because they don't want people, they don't want to attend Brighton, or they don't, they want to. And if you remember, I don't know if somebody was on a space as well, and somebody said it was one of Martin's spaces, and someone turned around and went, "I don't want to go and watch City versus Lincoln. That's part of the problem. When you're a blue, you're a blue. It doesn't matter." And somebody had to go at me today saying, something on the lines of, it's not all about winning trophies. You're a City fan or a football fan, not just for trophies. And he basically said, you like the Scousers. All you want is that's all we want, trophies. We don't want basically to support the club. So it's not, and that's what we're up against.
Sorry, can I just, because Jeff's put another question there. I don't know if Jeff missed when I responded to his last question with some facts, which I did around the ratios. But what do we mean by record prices? Is it wrong to think this is the most expensive City's prices have ever been? Are they not? Is that not a record for us?
It's factual. It's factual. It's
try and buy one, Jeff. See how you get on.
And also, if you want to compare it to other clubs, this is some people put in some really good work actually, and had a look at this. I think it was Presswich Blue on Twitter or something, or on Blue Moon or something. I seen him put some stuff up. He had a look at category pricing against Liverpool, United, Spurs, and Arsenal, arguably our main competitors, whatever. We were higher than all of them for certain match. That in the COP, the most expensive ticket you can buy as a normal fan is like 50 quid, 60 quid. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm just seeing his response again. Everyone always brings up this lowest season ticket. Everyone always brings up this lowest price season ticket. South Stand Level 1 was meant to be the cheapest part of the ground a few years ago. Now prices there have nearly doubled, and I'm paying 750-60 quid for my season ticket now. When I was a kid, I was paying, my dad was paying for me, it was when we first moved in, 80-90 quid. And then it was £125. I saw us win the league on £125. How mad was that?
You can't even buy a pint for that now.
You can't even buy a shirt for that now.
I don't think it's factually correct that the most expensive ticket is now £1,080 as well. Because if you think what they've done to the stadium, they've converted so many areas of it to like kind of semi-hospitality. So you got like 93-20 and Joe's and stuff like that. So you could quite easily have had a season ticket in there in the past, which would have been a reasonable price, but now will cost you $2,000 a year or something like that. So it's not a box. You don't get your meal, but it's like semi-hospitality. So those season tickets don't cost £1,080, and back in the day,
and also
it would have been priced like everywhere else. So I don't think it's quite accurate to say that the most expensive season ticket is now £1,080.
And saying that the cheapest season ticket now is cheaper than it was 10 years ago. South Stand Level 3 didn't exist 10 years ago. It hadn't been built. So you can't exactly compare it directly, can you? This is what we're talking about with the extension, the stadium extension. We are going to have to fill another 8,000 tickets. Do you think if they were all going to be £1,000, they were going to fill them? We can't get people to fill the stadium against Leicester on a
or hospitality against Brighton, etc.
I really don't understand what people are saying here. Like we've just won 4 leagues on the trot. Unprecedented success in English football history. It will never be seen again in our lifetime, I hope. I hope it'll never be seen again, unless it's us. But the fact that we, within 12 months of having completed that feat, we have got empty seats purely because of the match day pricing. That's a failure of business. Is that not a massive strategic failure? Surely we should have
gross misconduct.
We should have thousands of local, whether it's Mancunian, Greater Manchester, or the Northwest region, whatever. We should have thousands and thousands of younger people wanting to come into our stadium to fill seats. Yet we can't. And why? Because they are too expensive. But they would rather have more empty seats if the seats that have been paid for have been paid at a higher price. I don't know why everyone gives the club so much. I say the club as well. Sorry, it's not the club. It's certain staff at the club, and there was some great staff at the club. And you mentioned Danny Wilson before there, and I've never met him. I'm sure he's a lovely guy.
He's a nice guy. He is.
Maybe this is. I think maybe this stuff is out of his hands. But he's the one.
100% out of his hands, mate.
He has to front all of this up. So it's like, what is it even worth listening to? Like, because you're not making the decisions, and you're just having to cover and make excuses for him. So I just don't understand when we're talking about a league which has just seen an increase into the TV money of it's £12.25 billion that is shared amongst the 20 clubs, and they needed our 500 grand for the season ticket increase.
The proof's in the pudding, Nick, where it just shows again we've just won the 4 in a row. These empty seats. Now, there's not always empty seats against the big teams, but there is against the so-called lower teams. Doesn't that say everything? Where now, if the club are forcing us out even more, that's not going to get better. That's going to be a big black hole of, hang on a minute, we've got all the extra capacity, but people are not attending because it's not a glamour. A glamour game. It's going to highlight the problem even more, and it's about.
I think that's where the money aspect comes in. I think that's where the 9 ticket charge come in. Man City are getting paid for that seat, whether it's full or it's not full. So it's about money for them. Like, they're not going to be out of pocket. Yeah, the optics won't look great when the ground is half empty or 3/4 full. But Man City have cash in the bank, because them 9 ticket holders that they've employed have paid over money to get them tickets. So it's money for old Rob.
Yeah. And it's like what Nick says there. It's pretty much the same boat as me. As I was chatting to Chris before we went live. For me, my season listen, and it's sort of like, it don't go against the grade of what the conversation's about. I'm fortunate enough. I'm not saying I'm rich, but I'm far from rich. But I can absorb so much for whether it's a family shop, a season ticket, one of your pleasures in life. I'm fortunate that I can do that. That's probably one of the minority you can do. But everyday, working class people, they're in a position where, hang on, do I put food on my table or do I go and watch City? You should not be put in that situation. Now, I'm fighting the fight the same as Nick, because it's, if you don't stand shoulder to shoulder, and battles are always better in numbers. Now, if you're not fighting in numbers, if you're fighting in just little silos, you'll never win it. Stand together, and that's why I applaud everybody who's making a stand, against what's going on.
Yeah, I'm sorry for overtaking a lot of this. I'll say some last bit.
I'm glad, Nick, because people like, was it Jeff who's come with certain facts. It's all about education, because there will be people out there, mate, who'll read social media and just sort of like, start believing it, what's not factually right. So it's good to get the truth out there.
And to be fair, look, I mean, I was probably a bit harsh on Jeff there. Like, we all want the club we all want to believe that the club has got our best interests at heart. But it hasn't really, because the club is the business, isn't it? And they just care about the business. So fair enough. But I'm not here for the business. I'm here for, like Chris said before, I'm here for the community. I'm here for the memories. I'm here for the family, the friends. Sorry, Jeff. But you did ignore my other facts before, though, to be fair. But yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, with pricing, you can say about what you think the cheapest ticket in the... Well, what's the point in saying how cheap season ticket is when we can't even get season tickets anymore? None have been released properly. So
where's my season ticket, Jeff?
Yeah, exactly. And then match day pricing. You can't argue about the 71 quid against Villa. That's a fact. You can't. That's the cheapest. So what's going on there? Like you said, I think City fans have, for whatever reason, it's been 2 years now. We've been working with 1894 Group. We first did a boycott around the Community Shield because it was going to be. Right. We'd won every bloody trophy, and it was still going to get put on a Sunday, the latest a Community Shield had ever been done.
Did they drop the kickoff time from like half an hour or something?
After they dropped it by an hour and a half. I think it was an hour or an hour and a half.
What about 3 o'clock? I think.
Did they? So do you know what I mean? And that was the first time that the FA had ever changed the kickoff time due to fan pressure, and that was because 1894 and us and all the City fans who supported it worked massively. It worked really well. Yeah, no. You can say it was a failed boycott because the stadium was full, but anyone who went there can say that was like a ghost of City's future. It was full of Arsenal fans. What have we seen with away fans in our end this year? There was no atmosphere. What have we seen? 2 atmospheres. And the players were fuming, apparently. So there was that. So since we started working with 1894 then 2 years ago, we've had fairly regular communication ever since. City fans have been working together better than ever. That's the reason why we've been able to do all this stuff, and that's the reason why we want to. I think it's fair to say we won a season ticket price freeze. I'm not going to say we won a match day price freeze because that's not a win. That's just stasis. But what we've got, like Chris said, we're giving the club a bit of time here. The club have got some time to change the policies to review it, and it's fine if they hold their hands up and say, you know what, after further consideration and speaking to supporters, we change our policy. That's absolutely fine. No one's going to give them grief for that.
It shouldn't even be a policy. That it's
no.
There's some policy there saying we've got to have X, Y, Z. It's not. Their goal is 100% to price people out. So and it's like what Paddy said before. If they're selling to Viagogo, City already get. Whoop, Chris has disappeared there. He was stuttering before. It's like what Paddy said. It's. Let me back in. There you go, pal. It's like what Paddy said. It's once the club have got that money off Viagogo, the club are not bothered whether it's empty seats or not. They've got the revenue already.
Yeah. It's just the money's never been needed, so not much. Why would they want to get rid of all this goodwill? The Liverpool announced the price freeze 2 months ago. There was no aggro. Why would they not rather have that? Do you know what I mean? And then all these punitive, restrictive policies that they're bringing in, it's because
you're dealing with people who deal with numbers who don't deal with human beings. And the two of them are not compatible. Numbers and human beings are not compatible in any walk of life.
When the club call us customers, that says it. Chris, I forgot what I was going to say now. It's gone. I wanted to ask you a question.
Sorry, I froze a bit there, didn't I? I could see myself. Didn't know what was happening.
But don't it say a lot though? Like the club, like on the back of winning four leagues, the most successful time in our history, and there's protest. Don't that say it all out how bad the football in pricing and stuff like that situation is?
It does, and I think as well we've got to see this within the context of everything else. It's like Nick's mentioned it. We've had a cost of living crisis, inflation. When inflation's gone down, but that doesn't mean that the prices have got less of stuff. It just means that they've increased at a slower rate. So people have a lot on. They have a lot of problems. They have a lot of things to manage, including the finances. And I think it should be seen in this context. I mean, even the guy before he said about it's just kind of increased in line with RPI, which is the retail price index. I mean, that might be the case, but the people's wages haven't increased with RPI. So this is the thing. Everything's becoming more expensive, and football is an arena of that. We care because we are football fans. Football to us means a lot, and that's why we're doing what we do. That's why we're taking action. We're encouraging others to do so. And I think the key thing is what you said before, Andy, is like even if it doesn't affect you, we've got to stand together. We've got to support everybody else. So we've got to think about those who are more affected by it.
Absolutely. That's it. It's about sticking up. That's it. So if the club doesn't listen, which I don't think they will, right? So there's two things that we can do. First off, actually, and I wanted to say this earlier on. So if anybody listening to this is affected by it, especially the 10 minimum game attendance policy, or is worried that it'll be affected because of their personal circumstances, Alex Howell is the chair of City Matters, and he's been really good on this. He's already had. Yeah, I think in the first few hours of him tweeting this a couple of days ago, he said dozens and dozens and dozens of people have emailed him with their own circumstances. So his email is alex.howell@citymatters.co.uk. I can put that in the chat for you here. If any of you got an issue, you're a supporter, and you think this is a season to go, especially, and you think this is going to affect you, please send him the information. And he'll get back to you. I tried to put it in the chat, it didn't work, but that's fine. I can put it in the private chat here. But then, all right, so because the club, it feels shamefully like the only thing that the club cares about is bad PR. They don't like bad press. They don't care if we've given them our feedback publicly, privately. They just don't like bad press. So
and you see, sorry to interrupt you, Nick. This is one of the things that completely pisses me off with our club. So they're concerned about bad press from the supporters, yet they don't seem to give two shits about the bad press they're getting from the media every day of the week over these 115 charges.
Yeah. This is it. And, I've seen 1894 make this point before. City fans have stuck with this club. Obviously, we're going to stick with the club anyway, but we've defended fans on the internet, in person. We've defended the club over these 115 charges when, let's be honest, we don't know the ins and outs of it. I'll leave that to the club. We've defended them. They've given us nothing back for that. Do you know what I mean? We're just expected to put up with not just this sort of stuff. How atrocious for anyone who went to Istanbul. The scenario after the game there, getting to the game, getting back from the game, it was horrendous. Alex Howell again there put together a massive bit of information. He had submissions from hundreds of City fans. The club ignored it. The club never said anything about us. They never said we're sorry that City fans have experienced this atrocious treatment in Istanbul at what should be a top level UEFA event.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure certain media outlets actually come out and support us. It didn't, highlights, but the club was just totally silent on it.
Journalists, some of them have been quite critical of the club before, were all over that. We're completely saying it was atrocious that football supporters had to deal with that. Our own club didn't, and you can say, why is that? Once we've got this extension, we'll be eligible for a Champions League final hosting. They don't want to upset UEFA.
No, and that's it. It just seems like they're getting in bed with the people what they should be kicking out of bed, and it doesn't leave a good taste.
They proved that with the European Super League. That told you all you needed to know about City. They're in it for the money. Yes, they give out about the Red Cartel, but they want to be at that table. They want to be in bed with the Red Cartel.
That's a good point.
That was just a testing thing. That the oldest, and at the time, about 5 years ago. It was sort of like the club was still a bit of it, but since the Super League testing, the club's changed massively yet again. So if that scenario came across again, City wouldn't give a shit. They'd just go ahead and do it.
Just to say on that though, you've got to think as well the amount of backlash from fans on that was a key factor in that never happening. And I think that stands us in a good position when we talk about the idea of taking action, of protesting, all that kind of thing. You've this kind of thing that we do. Like, they cannot like the fact that whenever on Match of the Day for that Grealish goal the other week, he scored in front of an empty stand, and people knew why that was the case. So that is about like fans in their numbers showing that they have the power to do something, because it has happened and it can keep happening. But I mean, to be fair, I don't think City were like one of the worst culprits in that whole conspiracy to form the Super League, were they? But I think others were much worse. But it does show that there are a lot of fans that feel that they are really passionate. The outpouring of anger around that for me was quite a positive thing to see.
Yeah. definitely.
Wouldn't it have been great though for Grealish to have replicated Darren Huckabee against, was it Millwall, clapped to an empty stand when he scored?
It would have been good. That would have. But this is it. Like somebody mentioned before about Esme Morgan. If ex-players, current players, whatever, can use their platforms to raise awareness, because it feels quite a lot that we're moaning with fans that nobody's listening. It took a long time for journalists even to get on board with this. There's always been some great journalists. Thingy's coming to mind. Oh God, what's it? Henry Windsor. He's always
all right,
always been good on supporters issues. But and to be fair, some of our local City supporters have been City journalists. Sorry, have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Simon Mullock's another great one as well. And to be fair, even like national Martin Samuel, he's been over it and stuff like that. But it just shows you.
Yeah, it's taken them a long time, because you could argue that really this price campaign, Stop Exporting Loyalty, like it's 10 years too late.
Yeah,
so many of my friends have already, my older mates especially, have already been priced out. Do you know what I mean?
But we had this issue because I know once, Andy, you asked me to go on Blue Tuesday with Ian, and it was around the time we were playing Real Madrid in the Champions League, and the club put the tickets up by over 100% so whoever we played before the Real Madrid game was a nobody, so the tickets were dead cheap. And when it came to Real Madrid, they'd put them up. They doubled the price of them. And I was on with Ian discussing that. And basically, I mean, I was never asked back on again, but that's no great surprise, as we know. But because nobody really liked what I was saying, but then we're again being priced out of a game of football.
Yeah,
well, I think back then, Anne-Marie, the club had more of an influence with the likes of BBC Radio Manchester, where they was telling what they can and can't say, and because it got to this, because City could quite easily have pulled the plug on the commentary, because Ian used to do the commentary and stuff like that. So it's probably a case, because I know Sarah Collins was head of BBC Radio Manchester at the time. I think she's at Talk Sport now. Think of that, whatever you will. And they had more. City had more clout, sort of like trying to dictate what people could and couldn't say.
I think this year as well. I remember the pricing. I think it was for the Inter game. Was it at home?
First game.
The scandalous, and yeah, I mean it was the first game, and it's like this is another big problem. If you're on the cup schemes, then you try and budget ahead for a month. You don't know where you're going to be or whatever, and all of a sudden you've got like. I think it's 60 odd quid where I sit for that game. It's just coming out of your account and stuff like that. And that to me,
and it's usually so far in advance of the game.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not in the. That's why I'm not in the cup scheme anymore because of that.
To have been that expensive in the past, I can't remember it being that expensive for any Champions League game, no matter who we were playing.
And this time round, we've got more games. I didn't realise that there was going to be more games. I'm an idiot, obviously. I didn't realise there was going to be more home games in this group stage. But yeah, they whacked it up. I think they've absolutely banked on the treble effect, the Haaland effect even. I think signing Haaland made a difference in terms of how they started pricing things. But again, who's that bringing into the ground? That's bringing in slightly more casual fans. I don't like the whole locals versus tourists thing. I think that's
I'll say it. I'll say it as it, because they always say it as is. They are fanboys, not supporters. If Ireland went to Preston North End, signed for them next week, you'd get fans go to support Preston North End because they're Haaland fans and not a club fan.
Well, it's like look at how many Moroccan fans we had with
Algerian fans, Mahrez, yeah.
It's like you'd go to the Player of the Month vote, and if he was in the running for it, I know it's just an example, but you know that I'm factually right on that one.
Yeah.
By the way, Anne-Marie, she absolutely loves Mahrez.
Anne-Marie, I know you love me.
I love him. Absolutely love him.
I love you too.
I was actually talking about
Phil Foden,
not Riyad Mahrez.
Right into that. I knew, but he was going to do it the minute you mentioned Mahrez.
I knew it as well.
That was ridiculous.
I know it is ridiculous because I was talking about Phil Foden.
Yeah, prove it.
Nick,
We got a full video there.
When Phil Foden was 17, she was talking about Phil Foden like that. I don't know which is worse.
That's even worse.
Yes, I'm old enough to be his mother, possibly even his grandmother.
Great grandmother. Well, that's another. So the message for tomorrow, guys, is listen. Pretty much the same as it was for the Leicester match. Support everybody, because you know something.
Yeah.
Look at the long-term picture rather than being short-sighted at the moment. And I'm all right, Jack, because it will happen to them.
Just to let everyone know, where's the protest taking place tomorrow?
So tomorrow, like Chris said, it's outside the Colin Bell entrance by the statues. And, look, Villa's a massive game. It's a massive game now. I'll be absolutely honest, I'd prefer to be in the Europa League for better away days, personally. But, no, it's a massive game and we want to back the team. So that's not going to be a concourse boycott. It's just 7 o'clock. Well, from 6:30, I think, Chris, you get some of you're not going to be leafleting.
Yeah, just to say to anyone, if they can help as well. So we'll be outside the statues at the Colin Bell. I'll be there with like thousands of leaflets. So we're going to be leafleting. It'll be our lot Trade Union Blues that are doing the leafleting, and I know 1894 and are going to be organising a protest and a banner drop, I think. But like part of this as well is to make people more aware of it who might not watch this, who might not be on Twitter or stuff like that. So we want to get all these leaflets out to people, which is very clearly going to set out why we're doing what we're doing tomorrow, and then what is potentially going to happen at the next home game as well. So yeah, if anyone can come and give us a hand or with leaflets, but even if you can't do that, please try and get there for the protest. Let's make it as big as possible.
Yeah. And it's
lads.
Lovely. And then and if nothing happens, if the club don't give us anything positive back, if the club don't listen to fans' concerns, because it is so concerning, this stuff. People who've had season tickets for decades, terrified that they're going to get the season ticket took off them if they get ill or because they're disabled or because they work in they don't work 9 to 5. If they don't come back to us on that, then against Wolves, a 6-minute concourse boycott, don't take your seats, to represent 6 years since no new traditional season tickets. Season tickets have come in some ways over the past few years.
It's been mainly them isolated ones. The crowd filler ones.
Yeah, there was the COVID deferrals in 2021. Then you had the silver season tickets were allowed to be upgraded because they got rid of silver season tickets. Didn't tell anyone that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then this the flexi gold sort of stuff.
Nick, you don't know the average age of a season ticket holder now.
Oh, well, I'm one of the youngest in my block and I'm 29. So I don't know how that's happening. But it's been said for years, isn't it, that City have the oldest season ticket, the oldest average age in the Premier League. And that was about 10, 15 years ago they were saying that. I can't imagine it's getting any easier when you've had no kids allowed to come in for 6 years because there's been no new proper season tickets apart from flexi golds, which don't count. So
and it does, and again, it speaks volumes that the majority of the people what are doing the protest and stuff are and let's not forget this, it's people who've actually got season tickets, not thinking, I want a season ticket. It's people who've got them, who are fighting for the people for the future, and that is so important. And it's like what Staffy Dave said there, guys, as well. Very, very educational, and I think it's important. Like yourselves and Dante and the 1894 guys as well, to get the message out there why it's happening rather than just be whinging fuckers. It's not a case of that. It's about what's doing right for our kids, their kids, so on and so forth, and people. No, not just our kids. It's just the next generation being allowed to have season tickets. It's not even just about money or anything like that.
I just want to say there, because Jeff said something again about his comments cut off, but it says, please be careful of claiming you represent, I'm assuming he's going to say represent all Blues. We'd never do that. We're not an elected group. We're just a few mates who collect food outside the stadium for 5 odd years. But we are talking about, you represent a significant number. Okay, that's very aggressive, Jeff. Can I just say that's a little bit of a strange attitude that you're taking towards us all here, when all we're doing is looking out for people who can't afford to support the team that they've supported their entire life. We can't get kids into the stadium, and people, especially disabled people with caring responsibilities and potentially pregnant people, whatever, are worried about having a season ticket taken off them. I don't know why you've got an issue.
Out of curiosity, Jeff, are you a season ticket holder? I'm not having a go there when I say that. I'm just curious because I think if you was a season ticket holder and in the same position of, say, myself, who's fighting for your friends' kids and so on and so forth, I think your spin would be different. I would much rather, if there's such thing as somebody representing City fans, I would much rather have 1894 Trade Union Blues, the food bank guys representing my club and me, than anybody else.
We've never, I don't think any of us have ever said, like, Crystal said the same, and 1894 said the same. They represent their members, first of all, but then just the general well-being of City fans. We've never said we represent fans. That's something we've never said.
Here's a question for you, Jeff. You said in your earlier comments that the dearest season ticket at Man City is 1,080 quid. I'm coming over for the match tomorrow. It's going to cost me 2 days off work, flights, hotel, and match ticket. That's going to cost me between 1,500 and 1,600 quid per match. Do you think that's fair?
Oh, he's just said his full name here. This guy used to work for the club.
Oh, Jeff, you little shit.
I clocked that about 20 minutes ago. I thought he's an actual fucking plant.
And do you know something? Jeff is a top guy, to be fair. Jeff, I'm not just saying it. Do you know who Jeff Durbin is?
I've got no issue with him, but he seems to have an issue with me and us, so that's why I'm responding in kind.
At some point, Jeff wants to come and put the other spin on things, which is always more than welcome to, because that's the way they show that. Jeff, I'm going to catch up with you in a bit.
Should get Jeff and Nick on a head-to-head.
That had to be televised.
Oh yeah.
But no, I just don't understand it. We're all looking out here for what's the other side? What's the other side of the argument? The money side. Do you know what I mean?
The other side, Nick, is a stadium full of dates.
I'm texting you now, Jeff.
Yes,
500 and 600 quid a ticket. That's the other side. And no atmosphere.
Yeah, I just want tons of proper blues in there, tons of families. I want an atmosphere that's great, that we deserve, that we have had before, and then just an aggressive line of questioning, really.
Yeah, and to be fair, just getting back to the football for a second, we need a decent atmosphere in there tomorrow night.
Yeah,
we've just seen Forest beating Tottenham 2-0, so that's going to put them back ahead of us, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is it. We want to support the team, and that's why when everyone came down off the concourse into Leicester, the atmosphere was better than some games where we hadn't had any protests. Do you know what I mean? For a while. So and we're not doing anything tomorrow versus Villa.
Just to say as well, I absolutely agree. We always want the atmosphere. I always get behind the players. I always get behind the club. That's what we are all saying. The other thing I would say is, like, I don't really want to be doing any of this. I think we're doing it because we feel we have to. It'd be quite possible. The club knows what we're asking for. We're not secretive about this. We're all on social media. We've released joint statements. We've written to them. It'd be great for me if we have a bit of protest tomorrow, and then the club comes back and says, "We hear you. We're sorry. Let's sort it out. Let's have some meaningful dialogue, and let's get to the bottom of all the issues and fix them." And we don't have to do anything against Wolves, and it's all sorted. We can we want a fruitful relationship, but if not, then this is the plan, and we feel that we have to stick to it.
Yeah, and that was it. We all sent an unprecedented 7 different City supporter groups sent the biggest joint statement, open letter to the club, to Khaldoon back in February. 7 different supporters groups, so that is quite representative actually of the fans. We've got no response.
So with fairness to Khaldoon, does he really know what's going on?
I wouldn't be surprised if after the video from Leicester, the empty seats and all that, I won't be surprised if that filtered back over the weekend. Because remember, it was the day after that protest that the club put 2.8% back to City Matters. And City Matters said no. Well done to them for that, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if it filtered back to the ownership, because it must be very embarrassing for him. It must be really embarrassing to have a stadium protest under Soriano's watch, under the leadership's watch.
Considering, mate, as well, is that interview what he did with, and he always does. Chris Bailey always does great interviews. He's got a lot of time for Chris.
Yeah.
Where Khaldoon basically said, things like what we're seeing now will never happen.
Yeah. I mean, Khaldoon has actually had some pretty solid responses to this when he's been asked about it. Was it in last year's end of season interview? He said, that a balance has to be struck. Chris Bailey asked him the question about ticket price increases. He says, yeah, balance has to be struck. Does it seem like a balance has been struck? I think Khaldoon has been let down.
Not when his counterparts talking about fucking Mickey Mouse.
Well, this is it. I think actually the ownership in this case are being let down by the people that they've decided to be the custodians of the club at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I bet Khaldoon would be fuming to see that there are potentially 10,000 empty seats in a stadium because of a protest. Let's see how many there are against Wolves if we don't hear anything back. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear absolutely nothing back, because, like you said before, Paddy, that to get this policy change news after the week after the ticket price freeze, it feels almost vindictive. It feels like petty and like a I don't know, retaliation of some sort. They're not going to get the price.
It's a classic case, Nick, of give with one hand and take with the other.
Yeah, and they've not even given much.
No, they froze season tickets for one season.
Yeah,
it'd be more kind of substantial. They had us, look, going forward, lads, for the next 3 years we won't raise season ticket prices, and we'll have a look at match day tickets.
United froze season ticket prices for, what was it, over 10 years, even when they were still winning a league. Do you know what I mean? We don't need to get started on the Glazers and all that, but yeah, it's just
but look, COVID has proven that every club in the Premiership that they don't need fans.
Yeah.
Like, the money they give match day revenue and season tickets and stuff like that, it's fairly insignificant compared to signing a sponsorship deal worth hundreds of millions.
Yeah,
match day. Why screw the ordinary man and woman on the street?
Yeah, match day income is 10% of our income. I think our total revenue, 10%. When you're talking about nearly 800 million total revenue, that's not much.
I tell you what, though, I honestly want to thank you both for coming on, because and again, I think it was Staffy Dave who said it's been really educational. Like, even though I'm totally in support, and I'm in support of what you guys are doing, I've learned loads as well tonight. So it, for me, justifies my shoulder to shoulder, if you like, on why I'm doing it. And with the likes of yourselves, with us fans are in safe hands, and I'm glad there is people like yourselves out there representing us, because you don't see it as you representing us, but we see guys like you as representing us, and it's so important. There is a difference.
Appreciate that, mate.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks for the support.
If we didn't have people like yourselves that are helping get the word out in any way possible, we'd have next to no impact. Do you know what I mean? It's all about, people think, oh, how can I get involved? And obviously, you can join the groups if you want to get in touch with us and stuff like that. But
Nick, we'll see if you're still happy after we give you the invoice after this.
I think they told there was a fee.
And by the way,
you don't think me and Paddy are paid for nothing, do you?
Exactly, yeah.
My mother and father. No, but honestly, mate, I'm there to and the channel is, we're always here to support you. I'm very vocal on X and stuff like that. Whether it's retweeting, whether it's getting the point across. It's so important. People need to have a voice.
It's important, and every time somebody says something like what you do, supporting supporters' interests and stuff like that, and fans' causes, that's another chip in the it's another chip in the wall, like that chip in the armor. Like that's what we need. We need people to be vocal, because I think maybe it's because groups like us are here at the moment, but I think for so many years, fans like and when you were saying before, you were talking about this years ago, and you don't feel like nobody wanted to listen.
No, we was basically just like, moaning back. And again, we're not blowing our own trumpet. We've seen certain things, what's happening, what we've called out, and one of them was mainly the stuff Anne-Marie and her dad was going through, being penalised because, for whether he's poorly or whatever, and he can't attend and he's being penalised for it. That's just morally wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, so we all just need to keep using our voices. And if it's because we are here now that people feel that they've got a bit of an outlet and they feel listened to, then great, brilliant. And, we'll keep on doing that. But we can't. Same with the food bank. We technically don't do anything at the food bank. It's actually just really generous City fans that come over, donate. They go over, bring food to us, and then we pass it on to the actual food bank.
But you're being modest there, mate, because you've got to put respect you for being modest. But without the likes of yourselves, then nobody would take food and just leave it, on the side, would they? So,
of course.
And by the way, somebody mentioned something. I forget who it was now. When I tweeted something on the lines, the thing what I'm going to put together, in the close season, that. Because that's going to be a challenging time for yourselves, the food bank. Is there somewhere where do you think the club would allow people to do a drop off at the club somewhere for you, or so people could still take it, or do you reckon because we're a little bit vocal they won't want to? Because at the end of the day, they're penalising poor people rather than a voice going against the club.
The last time we spoke with the club sincerely about anything like this was back in March 2020. We asked if we could have somewhere to store our stuff. We have to stop collections half an hour before kickoff so we can get the stuff moved over. We'd love to collect right up until kickoff. The Everton and Liverpool fans that do it, and West Ham, Newcastle, they all get support from their clubs to and from other people to store it. But yeah, City wanted us to move to City Square. And we didn't want to do that because we didn't want to be part of the match day entertainment. And also we like...
And all that, you've got everybody coming in that way, so you've got the traffic because...
And we want to be near the expert, and also it'd look a little bit weird if we were sat next to like a hot dog store selling a hot dog and a coffee for a tenner when people have a tenner to feed the family for a week.
The question was asked, wasn't it, Andy, last week, whether there was a place where people could drop stuff off for you during the close season.
Maybe...
Obviously, that's like a hard time for you to do.
Yeah, because I think they're based now in. I think they've got their offices in Salford. I'm not too sure. Look, what we do have though, we do have a fundraiser. If you go on our social media on the links there, there's we have.
And again, just fire stuff like that over, mate, and I can more than happy to. Spread them over, share them, on the shows as well as through my social media and stuff. But I'm looking forward to her. And something, I'll even get Jeff on the charity stream as well, because he is an absolute top guy, by the way. And I think he was just giving a devil's advocate point of view.
Yeah, but a devil's advocate don't help anyone really. I'm not slagging off him with that. I'm genuinely like. Maybe I'm being a bit too black and white with this, but on some level, what we're talking about is fairly serious. It's good or wrong. It's right or wrong to me. On a lot of this, and I think
absolutely. This is a black and white matter. There's no grey area.
I agree, and I don't think 10,000 City fans would have, because my God, that's a lot of bloody people. I don't think 10,000 City fans would have done what they did against Leicester if it wasn't for that.
No,
if they did the same way. So.
But like you say, we've got to keep the momentum going, because the minute you take in life, the minute you take your foot off somebody's throat, it'll just go back to normal.
Absolutely.
To keep the momentum going,
and that's why they're staggering all these announcements 1 week, 2 weeks later. They're doing that. They don't, because they don't want a response immediately. They're staggering it out, drip feeding us. We've got to keep it up. I've not got the time for it, to be honest. And Chris, all the stuff that their guys are doing, like. But you just got
full credit to you, and this is where you need a helping hand. And the more people who jump on board with it as well, the better, really, isn't it?
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Anything else you want to get over before we'll let you get to bed?
Can I just give a shout out for anyone? It's been mentioned about us representing. Obviously, we're a democratic organisation. Anyone's allowed to join so long as you're a City fan and a member of a trade union. I was elected by our members as a secretary, and I'm here in that capacity. If people don't like it, they'll vote me out. But hopefully hopefully they won't. And so far, it seems that we're all on the same page. We'll just encourage everyone. I mean, Nick, I think you guys posted it before, like about 1 in 4 people in this country in a trade union. That includes a lot of City fans. So if you're in a trade union, please sign up to Trade Union Blues and get involved, and give us some guidance, give us your input. We are a democratic organisation. That's what we want. Yeah,
and something. It's not. Some people might see that this moment in time with what's going on with protests as a bit doom and gloom. It's not. Something. There'll be, if we stick together, there'll be sunnier days ahead, and it won't just be shows where we're kicking up a fuss, if you like. It'll be for good.
You're not the Queen, Andy.
Yeah.
With her speech during COVID. Yeah, if we stick together, there'll be sunnier days ahead. We will meet again. Dickhead.
Was Vera Lynn, you dickhead?
No, the Queen said it during COVID.
This is it. Look, we're actually doing this not because we're all pessimistic, mad-ass people. Like we're massive optimists, and we believe in communities, and we believe in people, and City fans are our communities, and there are people, as Pep loves to say. Do you know what I mean? We're actually optimistic and hopeful people, and we want the best for City, and we want the best for our mates and our family who go to the games or don't go to the
people club to step up and and show that they're the people club.
Well, yeah. Let's see what City's marketing team comes up with.
So tomorrow I'll be there tomorrow. At the Colin Bell guys. And again, thanks for coming on as well, because it's so important. And hopefully, even the people who've not, who've just watched the show rather than even post a comment or whatever, hopefully they've been educated and they've not enjoyed the situation, but enjoyed, the insight of why it's happening and stuff like that. It's so important. And something, if it's 10 people who've changed their mind on stuff into to the way I'm thinking, that 10 people is 10 people, and that'll soon spread round.
Chat to every blue, talk about this. This is it. I think a lot of fans aren't aware of what goes on outside the games, to be fair. Whereas I'm the other way around. I have no idea what goes on the pitch. But like, speak to your mates, speak to your City supporting mates, or your other mates. The ones that support other clubs, because like I said, we've been doing a lot of work with other fans across the country. But chat to everyone about this. These things are important, and just don't
forget as well that Mahrez video was not Phil Foden. That she was talking about Mahrez, guys.
That was crazy.
Trust me, I know what I was talking about.
I thought I got
talking about Phil Foden.
There's a
Anne-Marie seems to have disappeared there for some reason. No, thank again, guys. Thanks for coming on, and I've really enjoyed it, mate. And sometimes it's good to not actually talk about what's going on the pitch as well.
Hey, whenever you want to do that, I'm glad to join.
Yeah, no, you're welcome anytime, as you are, Chris. So again, thanks for joining us, guys, and let's see what reaction we get after tomorrow's match, to see if the club come out the day after and just give us what they should be doing. They're doing the right thing, really.
Yeah, nice one. See you tomorrow, everyone.
Cheers, Mum and Dad. Cheers, Chris, and cheers, Nick.
Take care, everybody.
And Jeff, I love you, man. Cheers, guys. Have a great week, and come on, City tomorrow. Let's get 3 points. Cheers, guys. See you in a bit. Bye.